Hello, listeners, and welcome to this, the 45th episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies podcast. I'm Jacob, and on this episode, I'm joined by
Duncan,
Jack,
and John.
And we're glad to have you with us. This show, we're going to end up going over some of the changes to Sons of Horus and Imperial Fists as presented in Siege of Chthonia. But before we get there, we know where we've got to go first. What's our hobby progress been? John, you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I managed to get, last time I got everything sealed for decals, and so I started applying, actually, come to think of it, I didn't apply, I applied decals a little bit before the show today, and I'll be doing it today through the show, and then hopefully this weekend, I'm also, before we end the day, I'm going to be recording a decal tutorial that Jack can edit, much like the tutorial that Jack put up for me that is how I paint my blues. So I went through and painted the blues on all of the four Spartans, the 2 Typhons, the 3 Kratos, and the 2 Xiphons. I got all those blued, and then I got them sealed. And then, so I started decaling. I pulled out some old armor that I'd worked on before and kind of stopped at a halfway point. So since everything needed decals at the same time, I went ahead and started applying decals to 3 rhinos, 3 deplagued plague crawlers, 6 sabers, and then 8 saber tank hatches that I found on Etsy to use for my missiles. And did some cleaning and some reorganizing as well. And then convinced my buddy that wants to start word bearers to order some of the parts that he needs to finish off that army, and then handed out some decals as part of welcome to the hobby, getting him more into that, and that's pretty much it. But yeah, Jack can go into a little bit because he did some of the editing for me of combining my really quick kind of 30 minutes going over how I do airbrushing of my Ultramarines blue base coat, and then highlights, and then a blue filter over all of that to kind of pull everything back down to kind of create that vibrant blue that I have on all of my armor and infantry for my Ultramarines. And then published it to our YouTube's page, and then to Facebook's, and wherever great accountability buddy links are sold.
Yeah, that was my hobby progress this week, along with I bought the paints to hopefully make my own Gilman glaze. I still haven't got a chance to get that done. And then my favorite part of the hobby is new toys. I bought a new hobby knife from Home Depot, Ryobi, because the round hobby knives kill my hands. So I figure I'll give this a try.
Guys, what happened to box cutter life? What happened to box cutter life, man?
That is not fine enough for some of the stuff that I'm doing at this point.
That hurts me in my soul.
It should. It absolutely should.
You need to look into God hands for your nippers. They help a lot.
I'm expensive and cheap all at the same time. I end up going to Harbor Freight and buying their snippers.
Yeah, I am too, but it's just since I started using them, I found the time savings is so much worth it because you end up not having to do a lot of cleaning on that. That's another thing I'll probably end up wanting to record is the difference between a nice set of flush cut clippers, because the way these clippers work is there's only one side that's bladed, and so the clippers that you're kind of used to and work a lot like scissors is that both sides are sharp and you kind of hope that it'll cut as they come together. Whereas a lot of the Japanese ones are single bladed, and one side acts like a cutting board, and the other side acts like a knife. So you're always getting nice flush cuts every time.
See, it's not so much that I'm using this for. It's more of the cleaning up resin and 3D prints.
Okay, yeah.
So there's nothing to snip it from.
Yeah.
But yeah, so my hobby time was very limited this week. What did you get done, Duncan?
Oh, let's see here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12 Blood Angels that are about 75% completed at this point.
So I should probably start on my Imperial Fist outside of having one guy done.
Oh, no, I'm not anywhere close to done with the rest of the stuff. This is literally the first 10 plus 2 that I didn't realize I had started painting and then continued on because they were part of it. And then the Praetor
But I can't
thingamadoodle.
let you be done first.
Well, I'm not. I won't be. I promise. I promise.
Okay.
I won't be anywhere even close to done. We both know me. I'm not that reliable. But I've got these guys. Yes, thank you. I've got these guys going along fairly well. Beyond that, I haven't really done a lot. I've worked a lot of stuff on overtime and dealing with stuff for work and personal stuff. So yeah, life sucks. The end. Jacob, did you do anything?
I did. I got some base coats down on about a star worth of X for BattleTech for my Clan Wolf. Otherwise, though, that's been about the extent of it. I'm still hoping to be able to push for getting a game in with Alpha Legion at some time soon, but hasn't happened yet. So,
are you coming down, what is it, next weekend or 2 weekends from now?
I am not, unfortunately. I will be out on vacation after this week. Heading out to South Carolina to see my sister, see my new niece, just kind of catch up with the folks at their new place. So, that'll be a good time.
Fun there.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think hobby progress squared away. Do we have any new releases or pre-orders to talk up?
Leviathan dropped for 40K, and I did not order a copy. Did any of you order a copy?
No,
I
but
did not.
I am eyeballing one of them lizard men for a vendor in my NPC horde.
Yeah, the Lizardmen models have been looking nice. I've really appreciated some of the paint content we've gotten out of channels like Cult of Paint and Duncan Rhodes for that kind of stuff. And on the subject of paint, I really, really like what Cult of Paint did with a quote-unquote classic Terminator as compared to some of the new Leviathan models. I think that looked really, really sharp.
Yeah, that is one thing.
That was fantastic.
The seeing some of these new Leviathan release termies, they are some thick and tall boys.
Yeah, it's I said it out loud, or I think typed it in one of our group chats, where I really appreciate the fact that more modern sculpting sees Terminators presented as like having an actual human bone structure instead of their shoulders being positioned at their ears.
Yep. Yeah, I like those. It's just the fact that the ones that I started with only come up to their crotch is kind of looks a little wonky on the battlefield when you put them next to each other, but they always look wonky on the battlefield when you put them next to each other.
Yeah, definitely would look just a little weird if you stacked them all next to each other like that. So
some things tactical rocks can't fix.
Well, I don't know.
That's like a tactical log.
I'm actually waiting, and this may sound a little crazy. I really kind of wish. I know GW's doing the tactical rocks and everything for dynamic poses with everybody, but I kind of wish they'd just put out a box of, or a blister pack or whatever of just tactical rocks for us, and let us put our own rocks in specific places. Because I just want to do a couple models of nothing but. Like a couple bases of nothing but tactical rocks on dudes. No so dudes, just like a rock, more rocks, and then like a chainsword. And
they have a really
praetor.
cool box of like Battlefield Detritus that they sadly discontinued.
Yep.
Which I'm going to put out a call for if anyone still has those Battlefield Detritus boxes. There is a manhole cover that comes in that box, and I need as many of those as I can get my hands on for my highway table that I want to do before the end of the year. So if anyone has those and can reach out to me, I would appreciate it, and I will make it worth your while with more than just postage payback.
There's a couple things in those different sets of just battlefield debris and bits and bobbins that I think are really neat that I would like to be able to have again.
And that's why I started the real collections of battlefield stuff that I have. So we've seen it before with all the jet bikes and things that I built. So I have a big container of assorted brass casings and word bearer parts and used bottles and broken trees and things like that. It's just so I can put them wherever I see fit on the bases. And I've been doing that to my knights too. They've got disemboweled Kriegers and some word bearers on there to try to tie everything together, so at least even if the army I paint isn't exactly the same color, if the basing isn't the same thing, at least something in there will tie them all together that they hate word bearers, as they should.
Seems logical.
Speaking of hating word bearers, speaking for Jamie, I'd really like to reach out to Byron and say thank you, Byron, for working on the Word Bearers Toys for Tots Army. The stuff you've put up in our accountabilities Discord to show stuff that's being worked on and the beginnings of the paint scheme you're doing for it. Spot on, man. Good red. We dig that.
Yeah, gorgeous. I was just talking with him a minute ago.
Yeah. I'm definitely digging the way they look so far.
I didn't know that was a thing right now. Outstanding.
Yep. It's over in our hobby work in progress room.
Okay. Very nice.
Definitely a red, not quite as dark red as I would normally figure, but I see where he's going with it, and I kind of like it.
Yeah, definitely understandable. Both the thank you as well as the shout out for our hobby hangout rooms. So, with that out of the way, do we have any other news or announcements before we head right along into talking about the Imperial Fist and Sons of Horus changes in the new book?
One thing we did get dropped, although we don't have specific gameplay for it, is they confirmed that Space Marine 2 will have a complete campaign that is co-op playable with up to 4 players at the same time. The entire campaign.
Ooh, 4-player.
Yeah, I'm going to say right now that I am buying it for at least PC and probably PS5. So if anyone wants to play that together, when that drops in September, I believe, is they went ahead and said that's when it's coming out. I will be open to gaming with anybody on that. And then they also said that the Rogue Trader RPG is going to drop before the end of the year. And so I look forward to that as well. But that one's not going to be multiplayer, so we can't all play together, but we can compare our 13 different endings that we got, or whatever, however many hundreds of different endings that company makes. But the multiplayer Space Marine sounds freaking amazing if it's anywhere even half as good as Space Marine 1 was.
Yeah, I remember getting many happy hours out of the Horde mode there in Space Marine 1. It was a good time.
Yep.
Very cool, very exciting. It's a good time to be in the hobby. It seems like a lot of things are kind of pushing along in multiple directions as far as how the IP's shaping up. That being said, let's start pushing forward and getting into some of our rules here. I definitely will put out there that I was surprised to see these Legion expansions be as fully fledged and robust as what they were. Was anybody else surprised by it, or is this about the level of content that we were hoping for?
Yeah, I think the pair of exclusive Decurions was interesting. It's more of the win more, as they say, that these guys already had stuff and they're getting more stuff. And like usual, I'll say that I do kind of wish the Sons of Horus one could be taken by other people, maybe lose the murder people a bit of it and add it to somebody that can ally with militia or something like that, so that you could have like an inspiring Space Marine tank commander inside of a vehicle. Would be really cool. Because we had that in 1.0, but we've lost it.
I was not ready to add it.
Go ahead.
Like the shotgun for the Imperial Fist and these power weapons for the Sons of Horus. I didn't expect to see stuff like that in here. Yep. That was a pleasant surprise.
So, subject of the shotgun, Imperial Fists appear to have a Pharaoh mag. We're definitely not going to call it a Gauss shotgun. The Pharaoh mag is a 10-inch range, strength 5, AP4 assault 1, breaching 6+ that you can sub your shotgun for. Honestly, I'm not super sold on this option, but I think a lot of that has to do with how many people right now are really finding value in just making the opponent roll dice on the concussive 1 that a standard shotgun carries.
Why is it Fist exclusive?
Am I missing something where, like, are breachers allowed to take shotguns in place of bolters, or is it pretty exclusive to, like, scouts, vets, that kind of thing?
Scouts, vets, and characters. A lot of people have been arming characters with shotguns on the hope of the concussive shot as they charge into combat.
Yeah, any character who can't take a Nemesis Bolter, I see a lot of people just being like, oh, it's between 2 and 5 points to pick up a shotgun? Yeah, I'm gonna take the shotgun.
Yep. Yeah, I saw a lot of those at the Adepticon Warlord fight after hours. It was shotguns left and right.
Yay, shotguns.
Shotguns.
I'm not really sold on this being really actually an upgrade compared to the regular shotgun, to be honest.
Yep.
I kind of think it's not. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way I think you're getting more bang for your buck, as it were, with just a regular vanilla shotgun.
Well, it sure makes it easy to appreciate how incredibly strong the Bane Strike shotguns are that Alpha Legion get for their Ifrits.
Yeah, the 5-man squad of recon Marines with 5 of those shotguns. Maybe in Zone Mortalis that has play.
I could definitely... I will applaud you there, Jack, that opens up an alternative playstyle. If you took, like, 2 Breacher squads and, like, a squad of shotgun recons, that could be a pretty interesting way to get Imperial Fists on the table in ZM. I don't know if it would be my first choice, but it would have a lot of texture.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely sounds kind of crunchy. That might be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bunch of dudes running through breach and clear style.
Yeah, you can also put them on, scouts. So 65 points for 5 of them. Again,
yeah,
who knows? Like without playing the game of the new ZM, and we're getting into that in a later episode. I like the fact that it's in here. Like, I'm thankful the fact that we got new stuff. I'm not sure where this fits into it.
It's not such a terrible option that you immediately think it's bad.
Right.
It's not such a terrible option that we think it's bad, but it's also not such a great option that we think it's phenomenal.
Yep.
I would personally be more likely to include that if it was more than just breaching 6 with what it is. Maybe if it was breaching 5, maybe if it was just flat pinning or concussive or breaching 6 and either one of those.
I think if you gave it shred, you could add something to it without... Oh, hold on. So it says it's counted as auto. Are all shotguns
I just
auto weapons? And are all... I think all bolt and auto weapons are covered under the Imperial Fist rule. I think normal shotguns have got to be either auto or bolt weapons. I don't know. I guess at some level I do wish that you had shred on it, but I know that shred alters your math on breaching and not always necessarily in a way that makes it easier to balance, so...
Yeah, so if you were going to put shred on there, leaving it as breaching 6, I think that's okay. But as it is, it's just kind of...
Well, part of the hang-up there is that if you take 10 of them and you land 9 hits on something like, I don't know, a Dreadnought, you're going to grab approximately 3 breach wounds off just wounding on 6s and fishing for rerolls. And that may not be intended. So I think, unfortunately, that's another knock-on side effect of Dreadnoughts moving to a toughness, is that shred still kind of lets some funny math slip in.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But that's much ado about the shotguns. We did also get 2 brand new Warlord traits, which I was not expecting to see. These are probably, for my money, a little more meaningful or important, even if, the rules aren't as good, and I haven't read these, so I'll get a first glance at them here on the show. That it's more important with how armies are structured, and given that Warlord choice is part of your army composition now, seeing new Warlord choices to me is probably one of the biggest ways to add at least flair to an army. So we've got Unforgiven, which is Loyalist only, and Bound by Glory. Unforgiven says, while locked in combat with the enemy Warlord, or 1 or more models with Primarch, Dreadnought, Super Heavy, Knight, or Titan type, this Warlord instead only loses D3 wounds when suffering instant death. Furthermore, while locked in combat with the enemy warlord, you gain Fearless, but must always declare a charge if the enemy is within 12 inches at the beginning of the charge subphase. Uh, weren't was that Imperial Fist's old relic in first edition? Was that it gave Eternal Warrior? Am I off on that? Wasn't it? Oh no, it was immunity to instant death from Melta weapons, wasn't it?
Yes.
Hey, I
I'm pretty
remembered
sure it
something.
was.
Yeah, and it was a Storm Shield that did that. So this is a way to kind of replicate some of that functionality and let you get a not Sigismund character if you're looking for somebody to just throw into dangerous challenges there.
Yeah, their old relic was. Hang on. This is literally making me have to dig back. The Indomitable Mantle. You used Eternal Warrior and a 3+ invulnerable against Melta, but only against Melta. So then you grabbed an Iron Halo, so you had everything else on also for regular wounds.
Cool. Duncan, do you think you can go ahead and take that other warlord trait?
Well, I mean, I could if we need me to. Bound for Glory. This one, unlike the Unforgiven, is not loyalist only. And it was or is the controlling player with the warlord of this trait can select a single variant of the Legion Astartes rule other than the Legion Astartes Imperial Fists at the start of the battle, before any models are deployed onto the battlefield, but after players have selected armies. You then take this trait, and all models in a unit that the warlord joins gain Fearless when locked in combat with an enemy unit that has one or more models with that variant of Legion Astartes. And here's your drawback: you cannot make sweeping advances against an enemy unit that contains one or more models with the Legion Astartes rule that you targeted. Also, you get an additional reaction in the assault phase as long as you're not dead. Fearless. In this edition, Fearless is priceless. It only works when you're locked in combat. But let's be honest, most Praetors and beat stick level characters want to be in combat. So, yes, you can't chase the enemy down, but you can grind them down in a very Imperial Fisty way. So, potent, punchy. I don't dislike that at all.
Yeah, especially if you give it to the new guy.
I think the new guy actually has his own warlord trait chosen. And his new guy's trait is the Butcher of Larison. The opposing player, if at the start of any player turn, the opposing player scored more victory points than Lord Castellan Evander Garrus's controlling player, then he and all models in the unit he's joined gained Rage 2. Further, when an opposing player scores victory points by causing a unit from the same detachment as him to be entirely moved as casualties, you get to roll a d6. If the final result of that roll is a 6, then the number of victory points that they scored is reduced by 1 to a minimum of 0, so you can never, reduce it to less than 1.
Yeah.
The result of the d6 roll is increased by +1 if the opposing player has more victory than the person who controls Lord Castellan Evander Garrus. Also, you get an additional reaction during the assault phase as long as he's not been killed off. And realistically, this character is pretty beefy already. I know we're kind of just transitioning over to him real quick, but standard Praetor stat line with the addition of +1 toughness, so he's toughness 5, not toughness 4, and he's he's got 4 wounds as well, and he comes with Stubborn. As we all know, Stubborn's always nice when you have Leadership 10, especially, again, in this edition.
Yeah, and that Warlord trait specifically triggering off of, like, every turn, the victory point thing. I really like those new missions, and we'll get into this more when we kind of discuss the way those progressive scoring missions work. And so you'll know when those things trigger and when that's available. And so it's really interesting to have that Warlord trait that can kind of turn on and off when it's needed.
Yeah, they really, really built him specifically to work with these new missions.
Yep.
And if going forward in other expansions, books, campaign packs, whatever they put out, if they continued the trend of having cumulative scoring or cumulative whatever we want to call it for things like that, the mechanic where you get more points later in the mission, you score a victory, an objective or what have you. I could really, really say that I like that, and I hope to see more of it.
Yeah, I worry a little. I mean, this is a 1 point, so it's not a line, but I could see GW like, oh, this mission or this book we're bringing out progressive scoring. Next book we're bringing out only end of the game scoring or first turn scoring or something like that, where every book's warlords only work on that book's gimmick. I would worry a little bit about that, but it's still early.
I see your idea there.
I've seen it happen before, is what I'm saying.
So have I. And we've all seen how things can get messed up in translation, as it were.
Yep.
But the idea here, combined with the new missions and seeing more missions at events that are not just generic for objectives or relic or kill points, really gives me a lot of hope, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah.
So back to this guy's war gear and everything. He's got Subjugator. Subjugator is his Power Fist. It's not a Solarite Power Fist. It's not a Solarite Gauntlet. It's a Power Fist, but it's Power Fist with Brutal 2. Regular Strength 8, regular 8, and it's AP 1. So, and unlike a lot of special weapons we see, like Power Fists, it does not come with Specialist Weapon.
Oof.
Yeah, so he's going to sit there and have a bolt pistol, right? No, you don't. He doesn't have one. He doesn't have a bolt pistol to go with it. So that's one kind of thing that kind of sucks for him. But like I said, Subjugator, Strength 8, AP 1, Melee, Unwieldy, Brutal 2, and Reaping Blow. I'm not sure what Reaping Blow does, to be honest. Anyone want to look that up for us?
I was thinking of Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. The hammer is my... So the Subjugator is my gunsum.
His other weapon is, that's being looked up, Incineratus. It's a Volkite Charger, sort of. Kind of stepped up a little bit. Range 15, Strength 5, AP 5, Assault 5, Deflagrate, and Radphage, which that puts a really nice spin on a Volkite, putting Radphage on there as well.
Reaping Blow is the same thing that Death Guard Scythes have.
If a model is in base contact with more than one enemy model in the initial step in which they fight, they gain a number of attacks equal to the value of X, as noted in the variant of the special rule. If no value of X is included, then account the value of X as 1. Blah.
So they gain an additional attack every time if they're in base-to-base contact with more than one person.
Okay. So to make more fun, his armor is a 2-up save and a 4-up invulnerable. And he has a Feel No Pain 5-up against wounds suffered during any fight subphase. So you have a character who's running around with, if you're charging where there's more of them, you're going to get rage. Or if you're charging when they have more victory points, you're going to get rage. So you're going to have 6 attacks on the charge with your weapon skill 6, strength 8 fist. You're not being doubled out by power fists or thunder hammers because you have T5. So you're going to get your Feel No Pain no matter what. And you got a 4-up invuln, and you have 4 wounds. Oof. He's a
beat stick.
He's a pretty hefty beat stick, I will agree there. And if he does somehow lose combat, you got Stubborn 10 to back you up there. So he's a hefty little boy.
What does Radphage do again?
-1 toughness to the enemy if they're in combat with him.
Okay.
Is that Radphage or is that the Rad Grenades? Because I think Radphage is the one where models that take a wound from that lose 1 toughness.
Oh, it might be that. It's a toughness modification thingy.
Yeah, it's a toughness thingy.
Okay.
Either way, he's special. And if you somehow want to take him in a detachment that includes Rogaldorn, you can't.
Okay.
But if somehow you're playing a doubles game and Rogaldorn's on the table because of your buddy, and he's in that combat with Rogaldorn, he gains Fearless, and it will not die for the rest of the game. So at that point, T5, it will not die. fearless, and feel no pain. He's a chunk. He's yeah. He is for the bargain basement price of 215 points. He is definitely someone who, if I were playing Fists, I would consider using on a semi-regular basis. Again, it's just me, but he's not bad at all. Which kind of kicks us over to the Sons of Horus.
Sons of Horus. So what's your thoughts on this?
Well, the Karsoran Power Axe existed before. We already had it. Strength user, AP3, melee, breaching 5+, specialist weapon. It's nothing all that great. It's just a power weapon for the Sons of Horus that a lot of players already ignore, including myself. The Karsoran Power Tabard, or Power Tabar, or Tabar, however you pronounce it. Strength +1, AP3, melee, breaching 4-up, and 2-handed. It's just a Karsoran Power Axe with +1 strength, and it takes away specialist weapon, but you have 2-handed, so...
You do get a point better breaching, though.
You do, and you get a point of strength, so I'm not really sold on it to begin with. I wasn't sold in the beginning, still not sold on it. But hey, it's AP3 with a +1 strength, so that part alone helps. And the breaching definitely helps too.
I kind of like the Power Tabar if you're talking just like a off upgrade for a sergeant, because by the time you hit and wound, there's a really good chance that wound is breaching, and I think that though two-handed is supposed to be a bigger drawback than specialist weapon, for most of your sergeants, you're not going to get to claim dual-armed anyway, so then the Tabar goes way up in value for me.
You're not wrong. I don't really see it on a lot of characters above sergeant level. I might put it on in my army. I might put that on my Master of Signal that I use to run around with Reavers to eat charges first, but I don't really see a lot of use for it personally. But it's better than the Power Axe, so that's about it.
I mean, you've got ways to like give units rage, don't you? And even the new Sons of Horus Inducti, don't they get rage if they charge alongside a weapon skill 5 unit?
They do. So you could convincingly put that onto one of the sergeant, or to the Inducti sergeant, and have him cleaving Marines with an axe, and possibly surviving through a challenge by killing the sergeant before that fifth sergeant strikes.
Yeah, and for guys who can't take Artificer armor, by the time you consider your 4 attacks on the charge, even if you're going against a weapon skill 5 unit, you should grab at least 1 hit, and then you've got a 50-50 of, as long as the guy is not multiple wounds, you got a 50-50 of chopping him before you lose out. Now, I don't know how many weapon skill 5 models aren't multiple wounds, but...
No, you're not wrong
something
there.
To consider.
Yeah, for tactical squads, maybe. Spoiler squads and Inducti, yeah, probably so.
Yeah, definitely a right tool, right job kind of thing. But so you're saying you would even prefer still keeping a Power Fist on, like, Reaver Sergeants over this?
Absolutely, I will. Not just because of the ubiquitous Sergeant versus Sergeant challenge and him needing that fist to be able to do his job, but in most fist versus fist challenges with the Sergeant, it's happening turn 1, and they can't double my Sergeant out, whereas I'll still be able to double them out most of the time. So, yeah, Reavers, they're keeping their Sergeant.
That's a really strong consideration that you do get Battle Hardened 1 in the first round of combat.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's fair to highlight that for squads that you're looking for a modest point upgrade without going full Power Fist, the Tabar might work out, but I definitely see, especially if you're weapon skill 5, the Power Fist is probably worth the upcharge.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking. But for like your specialty units that may stay in the back, like a Last Cannon squad, or heck, just guys who are only existing there to jump on an objective, like a Despoiler squad, an Inducti squad, or a tactical squad. Yeah, throwing that on there does make a lot more sense than throwing on a fist, because you have a better chance of killing that sergeant, or you have reliable murdering regular power armor.
You can also upgrade your non-sergeant models with this, it looks like, yeah? Because it says, yeah, any model may exchange a power weapon for one of these. So you could absolutely just do that on, like, if you've got squads that get power weapons on 1/5, whether that's vets or reavers. That could be another out there, too.
Or the spoilers.
Yep. Assault
Or
Marines.
assault squads.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely different. Crud, now I'm going to have to rework those 2 future despoiler squads yet again to
You're
actually
welcome.
consider putting these in. Dag nabbit, Jacob. How dare you make me think?
Hey, anytime.
Thank you.
So give us a crash course on the Warlord traits.
So one's trader only. That's True Son. You cannot select. Okay, can only be selected by someone who's a traitor. It may not be selected if the primary detachment of the army whose warlord includes any models with corrupted or demon. Now it's only for the primary detachment, so you can still ally that stuff in there. Looking at you, word bearers players. The warlord with this trait gains a bonus of +1 to its leadership characteristic when making morale checks and pinning tests. And all models from the same detachment that can draw line of sight to him also gain that bonus to their own leadership characteristic when making morale or pinning tests. Further, he can re-roll any failed armor saves or invulnerable saves made against wounds inflicted by psychic weapons or psychic powers, and you get an additional reaction in the opposing player's assault phase. So, most of the time, you're going to have a character who's got leadership 10. It could be very good on like a Delegatus. In fact, on a Delegatus, it's very good. Very, very good because you're kicking him up to leadership 10. And we're starting to see more Psychers on the field as librarians come a little bit more to the fore. So the ability to reroll failed saves or invulnerable saves, either one against stuff from them, that's kind of nice. Not bad. I wouldn't say it's the best, but it's definitely not terrible.
I think you already highlighted something important with it, where just +1 leadership, if you took a Delegatus for Zone Mortalis, I think that's a huge boon. The psychic powers is kind of a whatever, but +1 leadership is remarkable.
Yep. I mean, what's the Delegatus' leadership? No, never mind. The Delegatus' leadership is it 9 or is it 10?
No.
Having to think so darn much hurts sometimes. Yep, I found it. It's
Decurion is 9.
Yeah,
so
base Centurion's 9, so it does make the Delegatus 10. Yeah, putting that on a Delegatus, instant better button. I love it. So for zone small games, absolutely do that. The other one is not tied only to traders, and it's cast in gold. Warlord with this trait is engaged in a challenge with an enemy model that has a weapon skill that is equal to or greater than that, then the controlling player of the Warlord gains +1 strength and +1 attacks for the duration of that challenge. Further, if he causes an enemy model with a weapon skill equal to or greater than that of himself to be removed as a casualty in a challenge, you get +1 victory points, in addition to any other rule like Slay the Warlord or mission objective. So, throw that on a generic Praetor, Sons of Horus Praetor. Give him the ubiquitous Thunderhammer that so many Praetors are carrying around these days. Give him this Warlord trait. And if in that challenge he can double out and kill that other Praetor character, free bonus victory point. Because you can double him easier than he can double you. Since, again, that first run of combat.
+1 strength won't get you over the enemy's battle hardened, but you're absolutely correct that it gives you a little bit of gas if it has to. +1 attack is typically nothing to scoff at, and you're right, with you having battle hardened, your odds of being able to win that, whether you just try to trade Thunderhammers with the other guy or whatever, and even if both of you die, you'll still gain the bonus victory point.
Yeah, even if it's mutual destruction, the fact that you have that, I mean, sure, you lose one and you gain one, so it's a net loss for Slay the Warlord. But then you have this one kicking you an extra victory point, so it's actually a net bonus of 1. So in the mutual destruction category, that's not bad at all. Yeah. I dig it. Probably not the one I'll take all the time myself, but it's definitely a good option.
Yeah, and it's fun to let people. What's the one you would normally take? Because I know you've been playing Black Reaving, yeah.
Yeah, so obviously Black Reaving is just a right. It's not the Warlord trait that I play. But typically, the Warlord trait that I'm running is the Blessed by the Dark Gods. So I can run around with my Praetor having the possibility of having a +1 strength, +1 strength and +1 toughness for Chosen of the Dark Gods, and have the possibility of rolling to increase my wounds and get a lost wound back. And of course, if you roll a 1 on that random chaos die, you take a single wound that can't be mitigated. But
Yeah.
for most of the time, him running around is strength 5, toughness 5 with the Thunder Hammer. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and then going to tough counts as tough 6 on the first round. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
Well, brings us to Varen Assuredon.
Yeah.
205 points, Praetor stat line, but picks up weapon skill 7. Pretty great. Artificer Praetor stat line, I should say. He's got the Axe Serpentis, a Banestrike Fusiliad, close combat weapon, frag crack grenades, Meltabombs. Meltabombs, I think that's our first time seeing those on a named character. And the Panoply of the Void. He's Sons of Horus, Master of the Legion, independent character, relentless, battle-hardened 1 native. Precision shot and strike on a 6+, counterattack 1, he is the first Reaver, and a traitor. His unique Warlord trait says that when a wound is allocated to him by his controlling player, but not by the opponent via like precision shot, precision strike, sniper, etc., while there are still other models in the same unit that the wound could have gone to, all failed invulnerable saves may be re-rolled. Furthermore, if he's part of a unit that includes a majority of models without the character subtype, then all models gain stubborn as long as he is part of the unit. Bonus reaction in the movement phase. So he actually has a lead from the front Warlord trait. I don't know how often you'll want to take it, just because I don't know how much low AP there is out there that's not going to instant death him. But him having Battle-Hardened 1 means that you really can roll the dice and let him risk it on a wound or 2 against an incoming like Fusiliad of las cannons, just to try to take those 5 up, feel no pains, and save a couple chumps.
Yep. I'm going to say this. That weapon skill 7 for a 205-point character.
Are you building one?
I'm going to get one. And I'm going to replace that terrible axe on the model that I do not like because I think it looks too thick with a different type of axe that I think looks better.
Yeah. But I agree. I think getting
weapon skill 7 on him,
ways to break parity in close combat is ridiculously strong.
Yeah, I mean, he's already got Sigismund's weapon skill.
Yep.
He's not got regular Praetor weapon skill at all. And when you come with a native AP2 weapon that strikes at initiative 6 and has murderous strike 6, yes, it's not a Paragon blade, but that's not bad at all.
Yeah, speaking of, so his axe is strength user, AP2, melee, sudden strike 1, murderous strike 6, so you do give up the strength of a Paragon blade, but sudden strike, you're right, in a lot of challenges that'll at least get you the chance to cut them before they cut you, and as we talked about, being battle hardened means that you are most likely going to have to die to a big old bucket of Thunderhammer saves rather than get just instant death on the spot.
Yep.
His Banestrike Fusiliad is actually a pair of Banestrike bolt pistols, effectively, that are treated as a single unified weapons profile. 10-inch range, strength 5, AP 4, pistol 4, breaching 6+. So he's dual-armed in close combat. He gets to shoot this crazy gun on the way in. He does get precision shot 6 with it, so he has above a 50-50 chance of just trying to force a given model to roll saves. Great for picking out apothecaries before you actually start the chopping.
Yep. Now, one thing I actually kind of like about him is you're also getting with his armor, for people shooting at him in shooting attacks, you're getting some of the Alpha Legion bit. So he's actually counted as, and so is his unit, counting as 3 inches further away for stuff shooting at him. So that's a little odd. Like I said, kind of a bit of the Alpha Legion's shenanigans there, but definitely not bad. Again,
as long as his unit is composed of no more than 6 models, so he knows how to get like 5 dudes to be sneaky. But for my money, I think that actually makes him very flexible into Zone Mortalis, where if you chose to take him with, instead of Reavers, if you took 5 Tartaros command squad dudes, that's a way to duck in under this number. You're not going to have the feel no pain. But to pull some of those range shenanigans, or conversely, it's a way to, if you're kind of on the fringe once you actually get into the thick of combat, it's a way to try to cheat them alive just that little extra longer. I would say it'll happen maybe once in a 3-round event that'll save you once the squad is low enough, but that's not bad when you're effectively getting it for free, considering that we feel strongly that the rest of his war gear and rules stand alone without this rule.
Yeah. His final rule, first Reaver, you can add a single Reaver attack squad can be picked as his retinue. Ugh. I like Reaver attack squads a lot.
And they gain line native. They don't take a standard, and they do get line native.
Yeah.
That's
so you're not
interesting.
You're not really going to need the Black Reaving Rite of War to use them and to give them that line bonus. I'm not sure if I would stick him with Reavers like that, but, and this is a big but, it's really tempting to somehow find a way to throw him in a squad of 20 Reavers.
Does he have to join them to give them the line?
He does. And they're treated as retinue, so he can't leave, and you can't attach a cheap apothecary. In the same way that I put a value on Argel Tal, letting you take Scoring Galvorback, I appreciate that this character introduces a way for you to do something different, either change slots or apply line to another unit. And I continue to find that is a great way to add character and add flavor to your armies, is what you do with different choices that some models or units or rights of war let you make. Even if, obviously, there's something to be said for some of the difference in power level on some of those. Example, like Death Shrouds can just always be taken as a retinue, and they full on get the standard and everything. That's obviously on a different level from Argel Tal, who says, take Galvorback, and as long as I am attached to them, they gain the line special rule. And then this guy who says, take Reavers, and they become my retinue, and they gain line, period, as opposed to a standard. I don't know. I still continue to really like it, and the more that we can put a trick like that, one in a character and one in a rite of war in most legions, if not all legions, I think that'll boost player satisfaction.
Yeah. And speaking as someone who plays a lot of Reavers, it really sings to me to have another block of 20 more Reavers just to run around with him if I do that, with lots of power fists, because you got to find some way to punch things out. Chain axes just don't do it very well.
Nope. But he does bring Meltabombs to the party for that as well.
Yeah, he does. And when you have that many precision shots aligned with him from the other guys having bolt pistols, and you have that many precision strikes from all the Reavers having precision strike as well, that's a lot of picking out things you don't like and eradicating them from your actual enemy in a close combat.
Well, yeah, and if you brought even a chaplain with that squad, and you're like, the chaplain can tank the challenge and it'll be okay. If you set this dude loose and just even grab one hot 6, you can snipe the enemy apothecary at I6 and just wreck the combat outright on the spot.
Yep. And Reavers, 1 per 5, getting that plasma gun or that melta gun, and you have a block of 20 of them, you're getting 4, you roll that 1/6, and you pull out that character through shooting him to death with a melta gun from precision shot. It's not bad.
Yep, upends things quick. Are we ready to move on to the Decurion?
Yep, are we doing all of them, or just the Legion specific ones?
Let's hit all of them, both the generic and the Legion specific, and then let's also push forward and grab the Demon Assassin while we're in here.
Makes sense.
Jacob, you're my Demon Assassin.
Don't I know it, Jack? Let's talk about the Decurion. So I was really expecting these to be console choices, but instead they're vehicle upgrades, and you can only take one in the whole army. Yada yada, you pay the points, you must have the model, yada yada.
I don't think they're limited to 1 per army.
But it says, but more than 1 eligible model may select it. Okay, my bad. That's a good note. I read that originally as, but no more than 1.
Yeah, if you want a really expensive squad, you can go ahead and take a 5-man or 5 Predator team and upgrade each one of them with different Decurion.
Yeah.
2 Decurions if you want.
Yep.
Because there's no reason to upgrade past the first, but putting both of them in one squad does have its advantages.
Yeah. The Decurion must be paid in points. Yep. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Don't take a Force Orc slot. Very interesting there. The first of the generics is the Defensor. For 20 points, you can upgrade your Predator, Sicaran Punisher, or Kratos with this guy. So no Arcus, no Plasma Omega, and no Sicaran Venator, but you get this. A model for which this upgrade is selected must have a pintle-mounted weapon, excluding a Havoc launcher, and they gain the Advanced Reaction Point Defense. This advanced reaction may be made whenever an enemy charges or shoots at the unit. The unit may make a shooting attack with any defensive weapons that are not turret-mounted and any pintle-mounted weapons targeting the same enemy unit. A unit that makes the shooting may not make any attacks indirectly. Yada yada. Okay. Following all usual rules except pintle weapons shoot twice. So if you took a pintle multi-melta on your Kratos, hey hooray hurrah, you can shoot the pintle multi-melta twice and then shoot all the other defensive weapons.
Yeah, as far as they go, I think this one's a little bit weaker, unless you've got special pintle weapons for, Imperial Fist one, I think their guy is better at it than this. Maybe
Blood
Salamanders would like or Blood Angels. Maybe Salamanders would like this too, because you're getting to fire that heavy flamer twice.
Yep, and you're getting max number of Wall of Death hits.
Yep,
with them. Yeah, I think.
Oh, there's no tornado.
I think it's hit on.
Okay.
Oh wow! So yeah, that'd get super nutty if you somehow managed to pull that off with Salamanders, where you could shoot that Dragon's Breath flamer twice, get 6 hits both times.
Yep, that's Salamanders will like that. Blood Angel players will like that with the assault cannons everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we have the Decurion Locus, 30 points, so it is half again as expensive as the last one. It gives you the Locus Strike Advanced Reaction, can be taken by the same squad, so again, no Sicaran Arcus, no Sicaran Venator, no Sicaran Plasma Omega, no Vindicator squads for these guys. Predators are cool, Vindicators not. And in addition to gaining a Nuncio Vox, which lets you reroll Scatter, as long as you have line of sight to it, The Locust Strike may be made when the enemy goes to shoot you. Once you've resolved all your hit roll, or once the enemy resolves all hit rolls, armor pin rolls, invuln saves, and damage mitigation, but before you lose any hull points, you return fire. May attack with all the defensive weapons and up to one battle weapon. So that's what you're really paying for here, is instead of the pental weapon, which is not a requirement.
Not quite.
However, if the controlling player attacks with only a single battle weapon and no defensive weapons, then that model's attacks get +1 to hit. Template weapons may only be used as part of a Locust Strike if the target is within 8 inches and must use Wall of Death.
Yep. So that's a point where you're actually sitting there and able to use your Sicaran's massive autocannon.
Yep.
Or your Predator's Melta cannon.
Yeah, you can turn the full Choom boat from a Kratos and fire the main cannon in addition to all the other lesser Chooms.
Yep, that's what I was about to say. I think some of those options, Duncan, aren't as hot, but I think that a fully choomer.
Nope, you can't. It says if the controlling player chooses to attack with only a single battle weapon and no defensive weapons, then all that model's attacks as part of this reaction gain +1 to hit.
Right, but you do still get the one battle weapon in addition to the defensive weapons.
Yep. So you're just ignoring the +1 to hit.
Yeah, but in that way.
I'll totally do that. I'll totally get -1, or I'll even take my normal ballistic skill to get more shots with all my chooms.
Yeah, it turns out that might actually make the Kratos playable. It's just sad that you have to spend another 30 points to pull it off on a tank that's already 300 points.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the real winners in that one are likely to be Iron Warriors players.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. They're eating good on that one. Because they already wanted to take the Volkite Kratos. Yup. All right, then we've got the Decurion Lanius for Sons of Horus. Can be purchased for any model Sons of Horus that has not been upgraded with a pental-mounted weapon. And it must be a Predator, Sicaran Punisher, or Kratos. Decurion Lanius gains a pental-mounted Banestrike bolt cannon, which is a 24-inch, strength 6, AP 4, heavy 4, breaching 6. If it looks like an assault cannon and it smells like an assault cannon, it's probably an assault cannon. The problem here is that it's breaching instead of rending, but it's fine. Traders aren't allowed to have nice things. I kid. Decurion Lanius. All friendly models with Sons of Horus special rule within 12 inches of any model with this special rule are considered to have a leadership characteristic of 9 when resolving morale and pinning checks. If a friendly unit within 12, so that's it's all within 12, is considered to ends up failing a morale or pinning check during the shooting phase, it suffers D3 wounds and then passes. No saves or damage mitigation. Pretty capable. I think 40 points is really expensive, and I don't know what tank you put this on that's not either going to already be a Kratos and just be a significant fire magnet, or that's not like a Predator and this just makes it monstrously expensive.
I can see it putting on like a Predator that's in the backfield, but then the problem is you almost want that leadership buff moving upfield with you.
Yeah, you're parking this tank within 12 inches of like your las cannon team in the back.
Yeah, that's exactly where you're sticking him.
This is the one that I kind of wish that Ultramarines had access to, or somebody had something like this close to militia.
You mean in essence, a tank that provides the old Commissar rule of shooting the guy who's running away and rallying everyone else around him?
Yeah, and that's Yarick's tank actually had that rule.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much what this is.
Yep.
Yep,
that's kind of my response too.
Yeah, it exists.
It exists. For if you think you're going to lose guys who are going to be breaking break tests or even pinning tests, yes, it's nice. I don't really see it getting a lot of play. Getting a lot of play with most Sons of Horus people.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw this out there. By the time you're already putting this in the backfield with a las cannon team, put it on a conversion beam or predator.
Yep.
Oh my god.
You're welcome.
Yeah, that's already mean.
Anytime. You can thank me later.
Yeah, I don't see those teams needing it that much because they're not going to be taking as many tests. I would almost be putting this on a Flamestorm Predator or something that's charging up the guts.
I
then
think
you'd almost rather take the other Decurion that gives you reaction shots. So it goes back and forth. This guy.
I could see an argument for putting it on like a Melta Predator so that you can support like a Reaver squad or something. I know they bring their own Melta guns, but you'd rather hopefully be able to turn those on the contents of a transport and have that Predator pull kind of double duty, escort 2, maybe 3 different Reaver squads up the field, help them crack into a tank or 2, and then assault the contents. But I definitely think that 40 points for, even if that Predator is like 150 points, you're spiking your cost another 25%, and at which point, like, what's your value on keeping those units pushing up the table? Like, have you already bought apothecaries for them? Do you already have some leadership shenanigans or trickery to be able to...
Are you in a transport?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, should you just be buying a Land Raider instead of juicing up a Predator like that? But
yeah.
Okay, then we've got the Imperial Fist, Decurion Sagittar. This is the one that when the rules preview came out, I was very concerned about, and I will say I guess I'm still, to a certain extent, concerned about. Same rules, Predator, Sakaran, Punisher, Kratos. Comes with a pintle-mounted assault cannon and an augury scanner. So now your tank that normally is not allowed to interceptor can interceptor for free. I'm sorry, you are allowed to interceptor. That's not fair. You get a interceptor for free, and I think it still pushes back on infiltrate. And then Decurion Sagittar. When a model with this special rule makes a shooting attack, one defensive or pintle-mounted weapon may be targeted differently. Resolve it as if it's a separate attack, and attacks made by the single weapon may either be given Skyfire or Precision Shot 5.
And since he's getting his wonderful pintle-mounted assault cannon, that
is about one hit.
Yeah.
On the model you choose it on. Is this something that I'm encouraged by seeing? Generally, no. Is it as bad as what I was afraid it was going to look like by the time everything kind of settles and we've seen what I feel like is a more likely to see tabletop Decurion in terms of the one who lets you fire your battle weapon? No. I think, for my money, even if you adjust for per capita, so to speak, if you look at all armies that hit the table, we'll even narrow it down and say all armies that include a Kratos. I think you are more likely to see an army, A, include a Kratos, B, subsequently include the other Decurion, and I think you'll see more of those than any army taking any tank with a Sagittar.
Yep.
Yeah. Comparing apples to apples, this upgrade to the Sons of Horus upgrade, I think they're both about equal, realistically.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I think that the reward of sniping 1 to 2 models over the course of a whole game is about the same as sniping maybe 3 of your own models to spare yourself some bad pinning checks.
Yeah. I mean, they made a new gun just for the Sons of Horus guy that is pretty much an equal to the Elastis Assault Cannon. So, yeah, it's breaching, whereas this is rending. But, I don't see either one of them being something that's all that potent, all that powerful, or really all that terrible. I mean, they're okay. They're not great. They're okay and very situational.
I see myself saying that exists, and
I
I
see
don't.
myself not building it.
Yeah, and I think that's the weirder thing is of the two. I think the Sons of Horus had the neater model as far as like pose and things like that goes, but um, and we always talk about you can scratch build your own, but at the same time, how many of these are they gonna honestly sell? If you put the ability to take it on other tanks, I almost would see it more often. Like I could see the leadership guy being taken more on Damocles Rhinos, maybe, so that way he could hang out more with the guys he's meant to hang out with and things like that. Or even maybe Sabers. That way they're zipping up the field more, and it's easier to hide it because it's a smaller footprint.
Raiders or Spartans? That's where I would like to be able to see those put.
Yep.
I generally will mark that down as something that I am relatively glad for, is that I think of those tanks, the Arcus, the Command Rhino, the Spartan, and the Land Raider. I'm a little more on the fence about the Spartan and Land Raider, but like the Arcus and the Damocles, I don't think those tanks currently need as much help or
Nope.
quote unquote any help. And so I think focusing this and saying standard Sikaran and Kratos, and sure, might as well allow it on the Predator. I think that is a clear signal for we are trying to help bandage some of the problems with those units, because I know that everybody kind of sounded real hot on the Kratos at first, and then very quickly fell off to, oh, it's kind of the thing that you play if you're playing Death Guard or Iron Warriors, but otherwise it's probably not something you're going to end up playing.
Yeah, I'm building a list with two of them just because I want to deploy the least amount of things, and it's just on Warhammer 14.
Makes sense. Like I said, I see these as situationally okay. I don't see them as an auto include anywhere. Maybe in the future with other expansions, we'll see more options that expand into other vehicles like sabers, or maybe even into javelins. Something like that would be cool. I think could be interesting. Specifically for like White Scars, putting something like this into a javelin, I think would be wonderful. But that's for another time and another topic.
Yeah, and again, I think if you want to join the armies a little better, to see as a whole imperial fighting force, you could use these as building blocks to do things like the militia buffs and things like that, where you could take parts of these and add them to things and make them situational. It is a little odd that these specifically spell out only work on Legionis Astartes, Sons of Horus.
Yeah,
I thought that was a little odd for that guy. I mean, you would think that if you're in a fight, you wouldn't mind taking orders from the guy waving around a big gun that's going to shoot you in the face.
Yeah, I mean,
but I guess he's really
would.
selective on his trigger.
Yeah, but who knows? Overall, while these aren't, I think, anything really special to phone mom about and ask for extra money for Christmas to go order them from Forge World, it kind of gives me a little bit more hope for stuff that's possibly coming in future expansion books like these, because it opens up the door for more possibilities, as I said. And that right there, if they continue down that path, I really like that idea.
It proves that they don't all have to be show-stopping super characters.
Yep. It shows they can be just something characterful and flavorful. So, good on you, G-Dubs. That's, I count these as a win.
You know what also really opened the door for? Adding these back on the weekly Thursday, Heresy Thursday posts.
That could be really nice.
Oh yeah, if we get the generic sculpts.
And putting them out once every week for once every month for the other legions. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fantastic.
That's fair. Are we ready to push forward with the Abomination cult?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, for those who missed it, we did finally get a demon assassin. So far, we are at 1, but it seems to be very similar to how the Imperial assassins work if you're a loyalist player. I believe you can take one in place of an HQ slot in a primary detachment. And they get a special reaction that they can take in any phase. You take a leadership test. If you pass, you shunt up to 12 inches. If you were about to get shot or charged, that just gets lost.
It was a lot farther than the Imperial ones.
The Imperial one's only a 6-inch.
It's their initiative.
And do they have to take a leadership test to get it?
No, I think they just do it, but it's still never near enough to get them out of danger.
Definitely fair. And if you do fail the leadership test, both units take an effective D6 super wounds. No armor, no invuln, no damage mitigation, just both the unit that triggered it and the unit that failed the test both take that. It is important to note that your Abomination subtypes ignore all penalties for moving or charging through terrain and auto pass dangerous. They can never join or be joined by any models for any reason. They cannot embark, and they cannot be your warlord. So, we've got the Infernus Abomination. 130 points, move 7, weapons 5, ballistics 4. Did the Imperial Assassins get weapons 5?
Yep.
Okay, so we're staying consistent there. 3 wounds, I5, 4 attacks. So kind of a -1 weapons, -1 ballistics Praetor stat line. Lead 10, so it's pretty hard to fail that leadership test for that reaction like John was talking. 4 up base save. They are characters, they are abominations, they are light. And if I recall, no, it's a skirmisher that's +1 to something, isn't it? Light doesn't necessarily give him anything, does it?
No, light just means he can deploy further away from other units, or he has larger unit coherency.
That's skirmish, actually, I think.
Is that skirmish?
Yeah, skirmish is a 3-inch cohesion. If somebody wants to look up light while we push forward.
Yeah, I'm pulling my book up now.
Yeah, he's got transmutative armaments, wraith skin, and a bone shard spitter, sorry.
What's his toughness?
Huh?
What's his toughness? Sorry, I missed it.
Tough 4.
Okay.
So same as the Imperial Assassins, and I know that's kind of the big mark against him. He infiltrates, he scouts, he has Fear 2, Adamantine Will 3+, that's why the reaction is not actual perils wounds. He has Osmiotic Regeneration, and he is a traitor. Wow, what a surprise. Osmiotic Regeneration. At the end of the controlling player's turn, as long as he has not been removed by a casualty, roll a d6 for every unsaved wound inflicted during that turn. For each 5+, you get a wound back. You cannot exceed your starting value. Bone Shard Spitter. It's twice I've done that now. 6-inch range, strength 1, AP dash, assault 2d6, fleshbane. So here you go, take a bunch of saves. Not typically the best option against Astartes, but who knows? Maybe you're trying to dive bomb this guy into some militia. Transmutative armaments. Before any 2-hit rolls are made, select which weapon profile to use. Hammerblade, which is Strength 8, AP 2, Melee, Murderous Strike 6, Brutal 2, Two-Handed. Note that that is not unwieldy. Spine Lash, Strength 5, AP 4, Melee, Reach 2, Breaching 6, Two-Handed. Or Talon Rakes, Strength 4, AP 5, Melee Shred, Rending 6, Rampage 2, Specialist. And he has a 4-up invulnerable save. So that Hammerblade is pretty wicked, because you're going to be trying to bonk somebody at I5 with 4 attacks. Admittedly, you are only weapon skill 5, but you've got a pretty good chance of being able to mangle whatever you end up in a challenge with.
Yep. It's so
I have
good.
light.
Really situational. I'll take the other ones.
Yeah, but by the time you're 4 attack space, 5 on the charge, suddenly you're hitting 2.5 of those. Means you'll probably get 2 wounds for a total of 4 after Brutal. And if the other guy's not a Praetor or a Primarch, he's probably dead. It's just a question of if you're going to get clubbed by the rest of the squad for doing it to him.
Jack, you said you found the light rule?
Yes.
Where?
Underneath
Boy,
it's
type.
page 197, wherever that's at.
Which rule book?
Types. Or subtypes, I'm sorry. A unit that includes only models with the light subtype gains a +1 modifier to its initiative when determining how far the unit may run. This bonus stacks with any other bonus to run distance, such as Fleet X special rule, and when moving as part of a reaction. A unit that includes only model with the light subtype may make shooting attacks after having run, but makes all such attacks as snapshots. Models or weapons that cannot attack as snapshots may not attack. Models with light subtype may never claim to a cover save in the same term that it makes a run move.
You can run this thing.
Hooray, you can run 6 inches in addition to your 7-inch move. I guess if you've really got to scramble to, like, redeploy, yay.
And you can still shoot.
Correct. His gun's pretty lousy, and you're not allowed to assault after doing that. That's a Space Wolf only trick, but I don't know. I think I see what people are like afraid of here, but unless you are getting him into close combat at the same time as other units are hitting combat, just to try to make the best of his limitations, I don't know that this is typically going to be worth a whole HQ slot right now.
Yep. Yeah, it's got some things better than the Imperial ones as far as the possibility of more speed. The weapons are a little bit better, but they're still close combat weapons, so you're running into the fact that he really wants to punk a character if possible. But if you're going to hit a squad of even basic Astartes, I don't think you're going to survive long enough to get your points back.
If you can somehow like slip this guy into the backfield and get him into combat with las cannons, first of all, you probably aren't, because all it takes is the other guy just using an Overwatch reaction, and you're probably going to go away.
Or a vehicle accidentally explodes nearby.
Yep. But let's act like this is a magical Christmas land, and you've gotten that. Let's say it's reasonable. Let's say you've gotten into close combat with vets. You've killed off their sergeant or apothecary. One of those characters had to meet you in a challenge. Now you've got 9 angry dudes, 2 attack space, 3 for dual armed, looking to hit you on equal weapon skill. So you're looking about 13 hits, which those guys, I think vets come with chainswords. Is that correct?
Yep.
Cool. So by the time you get 13 hits, you're 7 wounds on the first pass, 3 more on the second. You've got 10 armor saves to make. You're gonna fail 5 of them statistically, and you don't have a feel no pain to fall back on, and you die. I'm glad you have Fear 2, but you spent 130 points to kill a vet sergeant. Like, if you can instead have other snipers in your army, whether that's Recon Marines, Nemesis vets, or Seekers. We talked about Seekers on one of our previous episodes. Seekers is a way to ping all the characters out of the squad. If you can ping out the characters and then set this guy loose to just chop 2 to 3 models instead of just 1, you've got a better chance of him surviving that combat. But ultimately, it's kind of the thing that I complain about Lernaeans only being good at, which is beating up on core choices. So congratulations, you could have this guy dive a tactical squad, cause 4 wounds, and then the tactical squad fails to do any damage to him. that tactical squad's going to fall back because you're Fear 2 and you just mutilated them in close combat. At the start of the opponent's next movement phase, you have to hope that they choose to have a unit end within 12 inches of you, and then you can blow your reaction to try to make a dart for cover within 12 inches of you. But you've still got to do that like 2 or 3 times of beating up a tactical squad and taking their lunch money to get this dude to pay for himself.
I think my biggest fear with this guy isn't even just that. It's that ye generic tactical squad that's just sitting over there on that objective that he decides to lump on, and they just bolter him to death.
Yep. That's what's gonna happen 90% of the time.
Yep.
Everything that Jacob said is you have to literally be Patton, pulling off the perfect tactics of perfection. If you're us average Joes, you're probably just gonna be like, oh, thank God wasted
you're
this
just
point.
like, cool, I get to like spare my reaction. And who knows, maybe you end up in a position where you can put the opponent, like John was saying, between a rock and a hard place, and you can be like, okay, you have 1 assault reaction. Do you want to use it to fury my assassin and kill my assassin? Or do you want to save your las cannons from another guy who I have who's threatening your las cannons? But like, what are the odds you're going to be able to put your opponent into that position where this assassin is going to be able to force a more valuable trade than what he's going to give up, which was an HQ slot at 130 points?
I think that he might see Apocalypse play for doing the sneaky sneaks on things where you don't mind as much as far as like perfect trading points, but I don't see him outside of that.
I think the best thing about this guy is that it's a cool looking model.
Oh, it's spectacular. It's really, really impressive. But
I like the model. I'll probably get one just to have one, but it's kind of like the Lanius guy. I doubt I'll use him, but I'll have him just the same so I can have one and say, hey, look, he looks cool. The end.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I've got the other assassins at this point. I mean, I had all the other ones from 40k days, and I went ahead and bought the other 3, even though I don't think I'm going to use them just because they are so cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's a beautiful model that definitely shows the Abomination character type definitely fits him. It really does. But the rules are kind of, again, it's another example of something that's okay, but it's something you really want to take in an army for 130
We
points.
took an Eversor and made him even angrier. Does that mean he's better? No.
Pretty much exactly that.
Yeah, Anakin meme. He's better, right? Right?
You got me on that one, John. Oh, man. On that positive note, do we have anything else to talk about before dropping the hint that next episode we're going to be running through some of the campaign supplements before starting our Zone Mortalis series?
Yes. The Kentucky 30K group is having a get-together on the 24th of June at the Battle Forge in Lexington, Kentucky. Anyone local or semi-local, we'd love to see you come out and hang out and play some games of Heresy and see at least myself and probably Jack and maybe some others that we know. It'll be a fun time. It's free. Come play. That's about summing it up.
And then we're going to talk about it more next time, but as a reminder, August the 11th, 12th, and 13th is the Texas Open. You can get tickets for the Phoenix event there. They've even got some tickets for lunch. That way you don't have to go find lunch in downtown Dallas. It's just brought straight to you. And so I will be there. Martin Emery's talking about going. Lucas is going to be there. And so definitely many people from the awesome list of Heresy guys will be there and playing.
And I would like to hit one final thing before we close it out. And this is saying just on the units that we've covered this time and previous: the Inducti, the Decurions, the Assassin, the characters. Not touching the campaign rules and not touching the museum rules. Guys, what are your thoughts on the book at this point for the stuff it adds to the basic game at this point.
I think it's.
Go ahead, John.
I was gonna say I think it's pretty good. I think it's probably if I was gonna give it a letter grade, I would say B plus to an A. As far as like the things that we've covered so far, I think the bigger problem I have with it, as far as like an overall heresy thing, and this is what's going to hurt the overall grade, is the fact that it's very much a Fist and Sons of Horus book with the other things kind of tossed in there as last minute add-ons. It seems the Inductee and the Decurions. They're good, but I don't think they're necessarily worth the price of admission if you don't already do the other things. That makes sense?
It does.
It's a
I'm
campaign book. I mean, like, I'm pretty much specific to those two factions. I mean,
yeah, it really is. Overall, between all the rules and the fluff, which I've read all the way through all the fluff at this point, touching on every legion and everything, I'm a fan of the fluff in it, other than one minor quibble, but that's not a big quibble. I'm a fan of the Inducti as a whole. I'm a fan of these guys that have been put into this because of what it means for potential future stuff coming out down the road. So I'm kind of at an overall, kind of like John, B plus to A minus for a total. When we talk about the campaign stuff and the ZM stuff, I think that pushes it overall as a whole into more of the A minus to A area. Definitely, I think the book as a whole is worth it. Before I was on the fence. At this point, yeah, I think it is worth getting no matter what, especially if you're a Fist player or a Sons of Horus player. But if you're a generic Legion player for Heresy, I think it's definitely something you want to get at this point. Jack, any ideas? Thoughts?
No, I think you all basically covered everything. The biggest thing that I like in this book is that, and this is not me trying to be negative about it, a lot of times when GW put out secondary campaign books, additional resources, there seemed to be something that breaks the core mechanics of whatever edition that we're in, and there's none of that in this book, which is fantastic.
Yeah, that I will agree there entirely.
Yeah, I would say that relative to my expectations or concerns or whatever coming into this book, I will say that I have been significantly more pleased at just about everything I've read or touched or seen than what I was expecting to be. Even though, like, we just talked about how the demon assassin is just going to get boltered to death, I think that it is an option that you will see some people at least consider playing around with. And even if it doesn't become like a staple of gameplay, the same way where I said I want to see more characters or Rights of War or Warlord traits or something that lets legions have more agency in what units go in what spots or what units gain line. This actually, for me, moves the needle in the right direction. And Inducti, on the whole, relative to my concern, and I said it to John, I think, on this show, where I was really worried that we were going to get Space Marine Scouts. They were going to be Weapons Ballistics 3, and they were going to be cheap, but not cheap enough. I think we got something significantly more interesting than that. And big shout for Jack also for calling attention to a lot of this is interesting without upending the game immediately to me. And I'm thoroughly impressed at that. Given absolutely watching what some other editions have done, seeing what I consider more interest added to the game rather than just these legions win more now. Sorry about you. Very positive. Very cool.
I will say, hi all. Sorry I was late.
Oh, good, Jamie. It's always good to see you, my friend.
I'm not complaining. I think my expectations were a little different, but looking at it in hindsight, they've literally given us rules for everything that they have basically announced to the future. like recently, other than I want to say the Lancer Knight. So like I was expecting a lot more like generic units to be in this. But there weren't. But I'm happy with what's actually in the book. I'm happy with the fluff. I'm happy with the ZM rules. I'm really happy about the ZM rules, and the campaign looks pretty cool too. So like, I'm not disappointed. Do I want more? Yes, because I'm a greedy person, I guess you would say. But with what they gave us, I'm not upset at all. I would say a good solid B. Like, it could be better, yes, but like far from bad, if that makes sense. And you all talked about the assassin tonight, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then we're going over. We have on future show. We're talking about ZM, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm looking forward to is that right now. So, yeah.
I think it's a TO. Yeah, it's a must-own book. But
Yeah, I would agree. I totally would agree. For like Lucas, I could see this would be like he'd be like super happy.
Yep.
Well, there goes all my cynicism, and with it, I think that means it's time to wrap the show. Does anybody else have any notes before we move it along?
I'd like to give a thanks to Jack for the videos that have been going up, and I'd like to give thanks to John for his recent video on how he does blue, and the one that he's working on as well regarding decals. Yeah, I like seeing more stuff coming out regarding the hobby. Y'all are doing good work there.
I also have a hover cam too that I'm gradually getting stuff to set it up because my workstations are on the other side of the room from my computer. So,
well, Jack is really good at informing all of the ways to make the hovercam work. In fact, I had literally just done nothing but plug it in, and it auto-detected everything else. And so I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, Jack. And he's like, okay. And so we walked through it, and he helped me a lot. And then, yeah, he helped cut down the video the parts that I sent him to make the first video. And I look forward to making more videos. What I want to do is I want to make sure that I take away. I don't like people like being scared of things.
yeah.
And I know it's not like, oh my god, I'm actually scared. No, it's a like I'll find other things to do to work around the fact that I don't want to do this thing. And that's human nature. I want to make sure that everyone can use the things that are here. Decals obviously have been around forever, and I think that they're probably some of the coolest things. Can make freehand a thing of the past and make finishing your vehicles quick and easy.
I know for decals, I've avoided them like the plague until probably the last 6 months to a year, mainly because of you, John. To be honest with you.
Well.
I mean, like, if you consider how long we've both been in a hobby or whatever, that's a long time to not use them.
Yeah, while we've been talking tonight, I have decaled both Xiphons, and they have close to 40 decals on them, each of them.
Yep, it looks good.
And you can see some of these are the size of Space Marines, and some of these are the size of Space Marine fists. So they range in all different sizes, they've got different types. And I'll go through that on the video. I want to make sure that everyone understands the different types of decals, the different manufacturing processes, because that'll definitely change how you tackle the decal.
Yep.
Sounds good. Very exciting.
I think we've about summed it all up at this point.
I was about to say the same. So, let's go ahead and let's land it, as it were. Thank you for joining us for this, the 45th episode of the Heresy Accountability Buddies podcast. I've been Jacob, and the show I've been joined by...
Duncan.
Jack?
John?
Jamie?
Yeah.
Nailed it again! 45 out of 45.
And we're glad you've been with us. Remember, stay accountable to your hobby and to your buddies, and we'll see you next time.